We're a nonprofit advocacy group for the St. Johns River.
And our mission is to help protect the river.
Hello, welcome to the St. John's Riverkeeper Show. I'm your Riverkeeper, Neil Armingjon. I'm with my co-worker and friend, Kelly Savage.
Hello.
And today you might notice there's something different. We normally have our executive director, Jimmy Orth, is kind of manning where Kelly sits. So Kelly and I have this new attitude: while the cat's away, the mice will play. It's not to say our show's not going to be professional, but it's going to be different. But we're here today to talk about issues related to our beautiful St. John's River. I remember one thing Jimmy always asked us to do, Kelly, before we get started in the show, and I'm going to follow that old tradition. Talk to people who may not have ever seen the Riverkeeper Show and say, what is St. John's Riverkeeper? We're a citizens group based here in Jacksonville, but we are working with people up and down the entire 310-mile length of the river. We're a nonprofit, and we're celebrating our 10th anniversary this year. We're a membership-based organization, so one of the ways that you watching the show can help us is become members of St. John's Riverkeeper. We have education programs. Kelly organizes a lot of those. We're going to tell you about those. We have opportunities for you boaters and otherwise people who watch out what's going on in their community to help us with our river patrol. So there's all kind of ways that you, citizen, can help us at St. John's Riverkeeper. So we'll get into that. Kelly, welcome.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
And why don't we start off with what we're going to talk a little bit. This has not been a great summer for the river. And we've talked a couple of shows about this. So I want to give people an update. There's been a lot of people calling us. We talked about a fish kill. And the latest, we keep saying, well, the next show will be able to say, people may remember starting around Memorial Day, we started seeing a lot of dead fish in the river, mainly redfish, big redfish, and it was thousands of fish. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, really due to public outcry, began sampling. And here's what we know, and we don't know. I can't sit here and tell you this is what caused the fish kill. One of the scientists has said there's no doubt that it was linked to the blue-green algae bloom. And sometime in the fall, it looks like now October, there's going to be an official release. I think it's safe to say that somehow either the toxins or the presence of the algae stimulated what I think, Kelly, will go down as probably one of the biggest fish kills in the recent history of the river, maybe in history. So that's it on the fish kill. We don't know. Only thing we can tell our viewers is we know it's related to the blue-green algae. We know that algae is related to nitrogen and phosphorus. As we've said many times on this show, our river, all of us are putting more nitrogen and phosphorus in the river than it can handle, and that's what stimulates the algae blooms.
And it was such a bad year for the blooms.
Yes.
And the fish kill, what makes it so interesting and horrible is that it was all large fish, right,
yes.
Neil?
Yeah. And actually, so the two main species were redfish, which you fishermen out there know, that's a highly sought, that's a target fish for people in this area. And there were literally, I personally observed hundreds, if not thousands, of dead redfish. We also saw a lot of rays, stingrays.
Yeah, those were hard to see.
Yes, and there were hundreds, if not thousands of those. We saw menhaden, often known as pogies. And I was up in 6 Mile Creek once this summer and actually saw a lot of brim and bass. So it was a terrible event, kind of reminded all of us we need to do better. But the thing that kind of captured the media attention and when I say the media attention, actually the attention of some very important people, and we'll get into that, was this, what I call the mystery foam. For literally the last 5 weeks, we've been receiving calls at the St. John's Riverkeeper office about this, what people call foam, some people call it meringue. We've got a photo. Maybe we can go to that photo. Now, I want people to look at this and realize that is not, we sent that photo to some people up in Washington at the Environmental Protection Agency. They actually thought we had photoshopped. That is the St. John's River in Fruit Cove, which many people know is a little community south of Julington Creek. That was Ben Williams, one of our board members. That foam literally takes on the appearance of snow. And that foam has been seen from on both sides of the river in downtown Jacksonville. I just had a call right before we left our office today to come to the show. We've had some folks in Green Cove Springs calling, and today was a bad day. So when that foam first came, and thanks for that photo, people kind of started calling us, what's going on? And frankly, we didn't know.
And a lot of people said that, well, there's always foam in the river.
Right.
Right.
Right. And some people, you know, there is something called what I call sea foam, which is that kind of thin, kind of transcendental foam that's on the top, depending on where the wind's blowing. You may not can see in that photo, in some cases this foam is 3, 4. I actually had a gentleman from that's kind of helps us keep an eye on the river at the Fleming Island Marina, who called one day and said, Neil, the foam is 3 feet thick. The wind was blowing from the east.
Wow.
But here's some good news about that. So what originally was told to the people is, well, we don't know how to tell what it is. There was a gentleman who lived in Orangedale who determined he thought there was something called cyanuric acid. But frankly, the agencies were not really responding until somebody got involved, and that's Senator Bill Nelson, the senior senator from the state of Florida. Senator Nelson has an office in downtown Jacksonville. His staff looked out the window one day, took some photos, sent them, emailed them to Senator Nelson, and this was on like a Thursday. He looked at the photo. He asked, what's causing this? And they said, well, no one seems to know. Senator Nelson said, well, you know what? I'm coming to Jacksonville tomorrow, and I want to get out. I want to look at this. And if we can't, the state can't figure out what this is, I'm going to get the federal government involved, the Environmental Protection Agency. And that's what happened. We, St. John's Riverkeeper, organized a boat trip. We've got a photo of Senator Nelson. That's Senator Nelson right in downtown Jacksonville. What's great about that, Kelly, it really helped focus local media. I mean, you and I and some of all our staff and some of our board members were joined with Senator Nelson, and literally every media outlet, all the television stations, all the radio stations. And the good news, there were state agencies, the Department of Environmental Protection, there was somebody from the city's Environmental Quality Division. Here's the good news about that. Senator Nelson's interest, there have been tests of the foam, and here's what the scientists think. This is not, again, all conclusive. The general sense is it's caused by fats and lipids that are, again, indirectly, in some cases directly, related to the algae bloom and fish kill. So I think what we can say safely is nitrogen and phosphorus, which is harming the river, kind of stimulated these blue-green algae blooms, which somehow stimulated this fish kill, which somehow the remnants of those in the water have kind of caused this foam. There have been other, I got a call from an attorney in Tallahassee who went to a conference, and there was a lake, one of the I think it's called Lake St. Mary's, up in Ohio, where they had this exact same chain of events. Luckily, ours has not been as dramatic as theirs, because theirs, that is a smaller lake and has been so toxified that it's literally, people can't use it.
That's such a sad situation. I really hope we don't
Right,
get to that.
and you know, so what can we do about this? I mean, so you know, I know it's kind of depressing hearing Kelly and I say, well, okay, this is all the bad stuff that happened to the river, but we know what the cause is. It's nitrogen and phosphorus. We've talked about on this show, Kelly, St. John's Riverkeeper and 4 other organizations in the state of Florida have grown kind of weary of the state of Florida not dealing with this problem. And we talked about this on previous shows. We filed a federal suit, Clean Water Act suit, and a federal judge agreed with us and said to the state of Florida, this is unacceptable. You know, he directed the EPA to establish something called numeric standards. So this fall, the Environmental Protection Agency will establish something called numeric nutrient standards, which we believe is going to be the first step to kind of addressing these problems we've been talking about. We support those numeric standards. It's, as we've talked about, very controversial. We believe that we need to do more than we're doing. There are businesses who have done things. We've all kind of changed the way we're living, but we, as the river has showed us once again, we need to do more.
Because before this time, correct Neil, correct me if I'm wrong, but there were no limits whatsoever.
We had something called a narrative standard. And what that meant was, well, the nitrogen, instead of having you can discharge X amount of nitrogen, the standards were based on a kind of as long as everything is in balance with the natural system. And as we saw, I don't think any scientist or any layperson could look at the St. Johns River right now and say it's in balance. So, you know, that's something I wanted to kind of update people on that. October is right around the corner. Mid-October, there will be these standards for the freshwater section, which, you know, a lot of the St. Johns River is fresh. So those standards will go into effect. And then the estuarine section, which is where salt and freshwater meet, there's been a delay as the scientists review that, but sometime in a little over a year, those standards. And again, you may hear about it, you may read about it. We, as I said more than once, you know, we took this action. We don't apologize for it. Our organization, we believe what's best for the river is best for this community. And so sometimes we will use the legal system to help protect the river, and that's just a case that we did that and we were successful.
And the great thing about this is that I've seen it's going to help some other states and other people that are trying to protect their local waterway. Right. It'll really help them to do that as well. The US EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, realized in 2008 these numeric standards needed to be applied countrywide, nationwide. Because of our action, Florida is the first. People have said, well, this, you know, we're the only state having to do this. That's not true. Every state will have to do this. It's going to impact Georgia, who discharges into Florida, and Alabama. You know, these are long-term problems. We're not going to fix these. You know, come October 15th, the river's not going to immediately get healthier. But I think what it does is give people hope that we're moving down the road toward, hopefully, our goal next summer, we're talking about something, we're not talking about fish kills and algae blooms and foam. You know, what I don't think a lot of people realize, Kelly, and we hear, because we talk to a lot of different people who use the river on many ways, you know, these events have an economic cost. It's not just that the river's unsightly, that, you know, it's sad to see dead fish, they don't smell good. You know, there are businesses that depend on the healthy St. Johns River. We heard from the boating industry. When the river's like it has been, it's not really conducive to saying, come on kids, let's go for a boat ride, or let's go get some bait and go fishing, especially when